Hey, shalom everyone. Sorry, the camera's not working right now, so no camera. How's the audio? Can you guys hear me okay? Would you let me know what the sound is like? Because I got something to say to you. Little inside joke there for Harrison. Can you hear me? Shalom, shalom. Hope you guys can hear me. Oh, sounds good. Okay, great. Yofi, Tofi. Tonight is the last night of the diaspora Passover season. Some people, they like to observe the Israeli schedule, which is the original 7 days. And then some outside of Israel like to do the diaspora schedule, which includes today, but it's nighttime already here in the east. Let's see if the camera's going to come on now. I got a feeling. Let's see. Try. I'm trying to do some tricks with it. You start to learn how your quirky equipment works. Little things are tricky. Come on, snap it. Oh, nope. Not going for it. Come on. It doesn't want to. Huh? It doesn't want to. Well, it's too bad. All right, we'll just go with that camera, at least for now. We can check later. Sometimes it likes to get going when things are warming up. Yeah, I can try my other camera. Let's see the built-in one. We've done this before. This one. Okay. Change its layout, though. Let's see. Okay, using the laptop built-in camera. Bear with me just for a second. I need to change something. No, it's not good. Ah! Different cameras, they like things differently, so I'm trying to get that. Fine, I guess we'll just clip it. Oh, it won't be perfect. Yeah, I can't get rid of it. So, oh, I could do like this. Let's see. Maybe I could slouch a bit. Slouch. Nope. All right, just deal with a little bit of light on the side. Let's see. Maybe the real one won't work. Let's see. I'll try one more time to change it back to the right one. Come on. Nope. Not gonna do it. Fine. There. Kind of got the light going. This is the best I can do. Alrighty then. Shalom to Pereira, Yakar, Mentat Assassin, Jeff, Gary, Harrison, let's see, Brenda, Betty, Faith, Tet, Pay, Michael. All right, I think I get. Oh, Raphael. All right, and Betty Tipping. Different. We have two Bettys. All right, welcome to everybody. So glad you're here. Let's just say real quick prayer. Avinu malkeinu ken yiratzon ki kol yigei tov ולבניך halayl hazot timalei et fi bidivrecha כי אני יכול לדבר רק אתה רוצה. אדוני, אדוננו מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. אין לנו מושיע ומגן בליתך רק אתה. הללויה, שבחויה. נורהו. הללוהו. הללואל. Hallelujah. אתה רום על כל תפארתנו, על כל תפילתנו. רומם אדוני, רומם אתה, כי אתה ממעל. צלחנו אדוני כי אנחנו לא שלמים. כן רצון כי כל יהיה טוב עכשיו בעיניך. מודיעים אנחנו כי נתת לנו את חג פסח. All right. So here we are, just finishing up our Passover teaching. So in case you missed it, there were several teachings, one for every day except Friday. We didn't have one on Friday. So what you've got is, you've got our Erev, our Seder, right? Our Erev Pesach. And that's pretty long. The first 7 minutes or so, we had some audio weird issues happening on location. And so, sorry about that. But if you're patient, then the audio's okay. We had fun, lots of, just a normal Seder. And then after that, we've got Passover number 1 for day number 1. And then we've got, I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5. This is the 6th teaching and the final teaching from that series. And it was interrupted in the middle by a Chol HaMoed, Passover, hour and a half to 2 hour long. I think it was 2 hours this last time, long teaching, okay? So that's not part of the serial one. So you got the Erev Pesach, and then in the middle we have Chol HaMoed, okay? And so you have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, Chol HaMoed, part 5, part 6, now we have part 7, and we're done. All right? So there's some interspersed, but if you look at the titles, last night's one was called Final, meaning the final day of Pesach as it's in the written Torah, and then today is ending Passover as it is traditionally in the diaspora, yeah? So in Israel, they were done yesterday, okay? And a lot of people like to observe that today as well, the Israeli schedule. All right? Oh, thank you so much. Harrison says the Seder was beautiful. They're so glad they were able to travel with us. Baruch Hashem, I'm really glad to hear it. Yeah, and anybody who's out there who doesn't have a home, we're not looking to pick off people from their congregations, right? But if you don't have a congregation, if you don't have a home, you live in a place that's too out in the boondocks, there's no place you can meet with on Shabbat, or maybe there is a place you'd like to meet with, but you want to observe the Sabbath and not drive your car. It is not allowed to drive a car on Shabbat. That is a sin. So, and I can prove it in many ways, many ways. So you should not be driving a car, motorcycle, any kind of motor vehicle on the Sabbath day. There are some cases to be made possibly for electronic vehicles. That eliminates some of my arguments. But so if you feel sincere about this and you want to be part of a congregation, you can join us. Join Congregation Simchat Hashem over here in the Philippines. We'll be glad to have you with us. You can be part of our Bnei Israel movement, which is kind of like a Renaissance movement within the Messianic Hebrew roots, all that kind of genre of believing in the Torah and also believing in the Messiah, yeah? So we're taking it to the next level over here, and we'd be glad to have you guys along with us for the ride. Okay, so tonight we're going to be very detailed. So if you don't like that kind of thing, I'm warning you now. I'm going to talk about probably every word and the details and the suffixes and the prefixes and any mutations or affixes or stuff that's happening in the middle of the word. All right? And I need a drink already. Goodness. Bear with me one moment. All right, so Raphael asked a great question. He says, Achi, what do you think about the distance of a Sabbath day's journey? It's good to keep it 3 miles or less, all right? Or multiply by 1.6 if you want to get that in kilometers. And that's walking, not riding an animal, not riding a tractor, not driving a car, not driving a motorcycle. You can't be doing those motor vehicle things. That is a total violation of Shabbat, okay? But you can walk. You can walk. And I would say that you can form a local Beit Din if you want to adjust that down a bit. Maybe if you think like you should keep considerations like, is it very hot outside when you're walking? And when you're walking, you shouldn't be carrying anything, right? So that 3 miles, that means you went to your congregation the Friday before, you dropped off your books, anything you might be carrying, right? And then, so that on Sabbath, you don't have to carry anything. You just you and your lonesome walk, right? And that's when you can go the 3 miles. If you're carrying stuff, this is a problem. I mean, the prophet Jeremiah, he addressed this. He says, why do you do that which is unlawful and you carry your burdens outside the city gates? Because we have special rules. If you're in a gated city, or if you're in an eruv, right, there's a border surrounded, then you're allowed to carry things, okay? Because it's like one big extension of a house. There's not a chance of being attacked by bandits, etc. It's okay. I won't get into it all, but hopefully that answers your question, yeah? Gary says, we have a GE electric oven with Sabbath mode. Nice. That's pretty cool. It's got a Sabbath mode. That's awesome. GE, all right. I like that. And they're no longer in bed with Iran, so great. GE has grown up. Okay, hope that's your question, Raphael. Yeah, good. Okay. And guys, it's a blessing. It's not a burden. I mean, I think you guys, a lot of people are skeptical about keeping the Sabbath, like really keeping it. And I'm just telling you, like, if you do really treat it like this, like a real day's rest, then you're going to be blessed. You're going to be blessed. You will be a blessing. And it's just so wonderful to observe his mitzvot. I mean, if not for the Sabbath command, I would have burned myself out back when I was a consulting software architect. I just would have burned out because I would have worked that day too. Every day, 12 hours or more. And I would have worked that day too. But because it's a mitzvah, not allowed, God saved me. And that's why I look so young now, because the Sabbath is just playing. All right, let's get to it. Here we are. Shemot, Exodus chapter 12, verse 24 to 28. Hope the sound is coming through okay. No beeps, Gary says, on his Sabbath mode. Raphael says, on that note, I heard that the pick up your mat reference in the Gospels was placed in an eruv. Totally makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense. Yeah, a lot of the things, okay, this is great. Maybe this is the Ruach during this. So a lot of the things where people think that Yeshua is against traditional Judaism, really what's happening is there's an in-house debate between the Hillelites and the Shammaites, right? And the Shammaites are the big losers. Not that they didn't have any good ideas, but they lost the battle of who would represent the flag of the true Pharisees, okay? But they were the ones in power when the Messiah walked the earth. And so he was always fighting with them. And guess who else was fighting with them? The Hillelite Pharisees were also fighting with them. They did not like each other. And this is proven by the fact that the day the Hillelites took the Sanhedrin, they overturned every single Shammai decision. So many decisions, except for 3. Just boom, 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 overturned. So to give you an idea, it's really kind of crazy that we call them both Pharisees. These are very different sects. And so Yeshua often gives the nod to Rabbi Hillel, his group. Even the Lord's Prayer is taken from the Hillelite prayer. It's an advancement upon that. Hillel says, not the Lord's Prayer, pardon. No, the Lord's Prayer also, yeah, that also. But I meant the golden rule. Hillel says, what is hateful to you, don't do to other people, right? And then Yeshua, he gives Hillel the nod and he adds it, he makes it better. He says, a positive commandment. What you do like done to you, do that to others. Not just don't do what's hateful, but do what you like, right? So he's agreeing with Hillel, and then he kind of adds some frosting on the top. And many of his decisions are halakhic like this, where he sides with the Hillelite Pharisees. It's just unfortunate that our Greek manuscripts, they just say Pharisees. They don't specify Shammai Pharisees, right? It's still true. They are Pharisees. It's the right genus, but I would have liked to have seen the species, right? So I usually, in my translations, when I'm translating from the Greek apostolic writings, I will italicize Shammaites. Italics means it's not in the original, but I'm suggesting that that's because they were the ones in power, so that's who he would have been arguing with. Yep. Yeah, there's a great book called Jesus the Pharisee. There's actually 2. I think it's Chaim Jacobi. Orthodox rabbi wrote the original one. Very, very good. And this is actually referenced quite a bit by the Orthodox rabbi today. What's his name? He's so famous. He's out there on TV all the time. He's been called America's favorite rabbi. He's been kicking Islamo-fascist butt lately, just going on shows debating these guys and destroying them. Very brave. He wrote a book called Kosher Jesus. What's his name? I can see his face. Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, right? And he references this other one, kind of lightly, but the other one is really, really wonderful. Yeah, so, yeah, wonderful. Thank you for your questions, Raphael. It's nice. Yeah, and so, in that light, what Raphael is asking about when Yeshua says, take up your mat, likely they were in an Erev, right? Especially in that area, such a popular area with so many people. And so, because it's in an Erev, the Hillelites say, no problem, you can take up your mat. You can carry a burden on the Sabbath day. But the Shammaites say you cannot carry a burden. Doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, so. All right, very, very lovely. So, let's go. Here we are, verse 24. ושמרתם את הדבר הזה לחוקלך ולבניך עד עולם. Ooh, and the yarmulke goes flying. Okay. ushmartem. By the way, it's a yarmulke, not a kippah. I don't know why it bugs me to hear kippah. This whole life heard it called yarmulke, and now suddenly kippah's popular. Shmartem. Shamar is to safeguard or to keep, and that tem at the end, that shows you that it's you all, right? So when you have a verb and it has tem on the end, tem. And that tells you it is you all. The subject of the verb, the ones who are doing the verb are you all. Okay? So shmartem is you all or y'all kept. And then the u, that's our vav conversive. That's when I apologize for the weird camera tonight. My other one just doesn't want to wake up. The SLR is like, I don't think so. I'm just going to take a break. But praise God, I'm so glad we have backup equipment. I got my flaking out mic, and I got my backup mic. We got the flaking out camera, and we got the backup camera. We just need backup Rabbi. Brenda's asking difference. So hey, Shalom Annie, a big difference between the Shammaites and the Hillelites. The Hillelite teachings are very much like a lot of what Yeshua teaches. I mean, there's forgiveness. There's a classic story where a Gentile, he goes to Rabbi Shammai, the founder of the Shammaite Pharisees, and he tells him, hey, teach me the Torah standing on one leg, right? And Shammai, he gets a whip and he drives the goy out. Get out of here, you stupid goy. Whip, crack, crack, and the Gentile runs out, right? So then he goes to Rabbi Hillel and he says, can you teach me the Torah standing on one foot? So Hillel goes up on one foot and he says, what is hateful to you, do not do to others. The rest is commentary. And then he puts his foot down and he says, now go study, right? So you're converted, now go study, right? So Hillel was very inclusive. The Hillelites are very forgiving, right? The Shammaites were very unforgiving most of the time. We still record their cases in the Talmud, so you can still see their method of thinking at least. It's worth learning how they thought about things. But Shammai was of a different, they're different on all kinds of stuff. Shammai says you light the candles one way on Hanukkah. Hillel says you light them the other way. all kinds of stuff. Like they disagree on almost everything you could imagine. Right? How late can you say the Shema if the sun has gone down already and it's almost dawn and you didn't say the bedtime Shema? How late can you? All these kind of things they disagree on, right? But the Hillelites tend to be, well, this is where modern Judaism comes from. And if you've ever been to an Orthodox synagogue and you've observed and just kind of watched and listened to the teachings, usually there's a lot of kindness. Usually there's a lot of compassion. Usually there's not hatred for Christians, for example, for Christian brothers and sisters, right? But they are seen as partners, especially in Ashkenaz places. They're seen as having the same God. And Christians are happily allowed to come as visitors. They're welcome in, right? It would have been a different thing if the Shammaites had been the surviving sect. Yeah. So Brenda's laughing. Can't be replaced. Oh, bless you, Brenda. Well, actually, I have plans for all of you who are studying Hebrew. When you guys are getting stronger and you're feeling, when you're getting to the point of like fluency with your Torah Hebrew and stuff, then you're going to have students too. I hope you'll be willing to do that. So we can spread this thing out. That used to be my requirement years ago when I would teach. When we set up a program in Texas, I had it set up so that if you were going to study one level, you had to take on at least one pupil 2 levels below you, right? So if you're in advanced grammar, you had to at least help someone with intro grammar. Intermediate grammar, you had to help someone learn to read, right? If you're in the Torah reading class, you had to at least be teaching intermediate grammar, et cetera, like that. So I really believe this is the way to really explode things out, right? So you guys master it, and then you teach others. And Eduardo was sharing with me that he's already teaching his children, right? And so some of you are doing that, right? So it's already flowing down some. So that's nice to know. Okay, so continuing. Shmartem, you all kept. Shmartem, and you all will keep. We don't translate. Hadavar hazeh. So definite article. Ha. And again, if you feel like you don't have a home, you have a home with us, right? So that's our the davar, and that is our noun, davar. If you remember, a noun is a person, place, thing, or idea, right? Davar. So it's going to be followed with an adjective, ze. Ze is what we call a demonstrative adjective. You don't have to remember that. And a demonstrative adjective, it's like this, that, these, etc. Let me get a little bit bigger here. I need to get bigger, and I need to slouch so my head doesn't get cut off. There we go. Oh, you can see that one. The light is trying to. There we go. Let's check the other camera. Maybe the other camera's ready to start up. Let's see. Let's see how he's feeling. Let's try. Nope. Not doing it. SLR is going to rest today. Fine. All right. And then an adjective always has to agree with its noun. Usually it follows it in Hebrew. It's not like in English. In English, we'd say this thing or this word. But in Hebrew, we say the word, this one, right? The adjectives, they follow, right? So you could say the big word, the this one, etc., etc. Can't sit up. Actually, sure we can. Let's do this. Oh, the lighting, that's the problem. That's why. Nope. I'm just going to try something. Let's see. And somehow I managed to touch 220 when I did that. Ouch! Okay. See. Better. Oh, much better. Those drive me crazy. If my thumb touched the contact when I pulled the light up, I got a jolt of 220. Woohoo! I'm awake now. All right, Harrison likes to play Baruch Hashem. Raphael says, I get the impression that not all were always called the separated ones, but that developed over time, like political parties. Maybe that was a nickname that kind of just stuck. That makes sense, especially since it wasn't long before Jerusalem was destroyed and everybody had to kind of free stuff, right? Right. Okay. Ha. So the adjective has to agree in sex, in number, and in definiteness. So davar is masculine, ze is masculine. If it was feminine, we'd use zot. Okay. Davar is singular, ze is singular. If it was plural, we'd say ele. Davar has ha in front of it. Ze has to have ha in front of it to make it definite. Oops, wrong color though. So the word, this one. Understand how that's working? And you can keep stacking up adjectives on there, right? So if I want to say the great word, I'd say hadavar hagadol. If I want to say the great good word, hadavar hagadol hatov, right? You can just keep stacking them on, but they all have to agree. Okay? If they don't agree, then you need a word is jammed in there somewhere, right? So if I said like tov hadavar, notice it's not hatov. Tov hadavar, good is the word. Well, you're thinking like Yoda again, right? Good is the word. Yes. Right? So you do it backwards. That's how you know. If the adjective doesn't agree, okay, either doesn't agree in number or doesn't agree in definiteness, then it will still agree in sex. Then you know that it's a predicate sentence. All right. All right. ושמרתם את הדבר הזה. So you all shall safeguard this word or this thing. לחוק לך. Le, we know le, for, what chok? A chok is a statute, a commandment, right? For a commandment, lecha, or an ordinance, you could maybe say. Sometimes chok means tradition. Yes. Lecha, and the cha, it's le for cha, for yourself. And you'll notice we started out in the plural. Look at this. So over here, the verb is in the plural, right? If we were talking just to one person, we'd say ushmarta, and you will keep. But it's ushmartem, it's plural, and you all shall keep. This word, this thing, right? This issue about the Passover, right? Lechok, or a statute, lecha, but now it's singular. It should have said lakhem. If we were to agree with the verb, shmartem, y'all shall keep, then it should have said lakhem, as a statute for yourselves or for you all. But instead it's singular, lecha. That's talking to one person. So this means, the sages explain this to mean that the first one, it's a community responsibility to make sure that the Passover is remembered. Therefore, ushmartem et hadachazeh, okay? But the statute also is individual, lecha. It's an individual responsibility as well. So the mitzvah, it's both a community mitzvah and it's also an individual mitzvah. Yeah, that's right. Yarmulke is in Yiddish, from Yiddish. Sorry, I started off a great yarmulke kippah discussion. It just sounds weird to me because I always heard it as yarmulke, you know. And then now that kippah's gaining steam as people are learning modern Hebrew and stuff. I think the Sephardim call it kippah, right? I think they call it kippah. Unless they have something in... Does anybody know is the Ladino word for yarmulke? I'd love to know. If we have any Sephardim who know Ladino, or in the comments below, maybe later you could let me know. If you know what it is in Ladino, it's probably kippah, you know. But in case you don't know, Ladino is classical Spanish. This is the Spanish that Jews who lived in Spain spoke in 1492. They spoke the Spanish of the day, right? With some Hebrew words mixed in and stuff, right? And then they were kicked out of Spain when Ferdinand and Isabella, the Catholic king and queen, took power. They kicked all the Jews out, right? And so they took with them, though, their classical Spanish. And so to this day, like in Israel, you can hear taxi drivers and such talking on the phone in this old Spanish, this classical Spanish with Hebrew words every once in a while. And it's written also just like Yiddish. Same thing with Yiddish, right? Yiddish is like German from 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, right? Oh, it's Germanic. It developed some. And it's got written with Hebrew letters, but it's got also some Hebrew words, some Slavic words in there and stuff too. And Ladino is basically the Sephardic Jews' Yiddish. That's their Yiddish, right? So what's interesting, I remember reading a thing from the great linguist Roman Jakobson, who was widely regarded, Jewish guy, widely regarded as the best linguist of his time. And he was recollecting how convenient it is that Ladino exists, because he could, if he was reading some classical Spanish work, and if there was a word that the lexicons, the dictionaries just weren't really good enough on, he could just go to a Sephardic Jew and say, hey, como se dice, what's this thing mean? And then they tell him, oh, that means such and such. It's like frozen in time. Spanish from 1492, frozen in time, spoken to this day. So cool. Raphael says it's still kippah. I think they only spelt it slightly differently. Okay, thanks. Harrison says, oh, Brenda likes my special effects. All right. Welcome to the English grammar class, Debs. Harrison says, drawing it back into oneness. Might this also allude to being in echad? Could be. Maybe there's a remiss hint about achdut there. Yeah, totally possible. All right, continue. Ulvanekha. 4 words in one. You gotta love Hebrew. Okay. So, and why is it Anybody know? And why is it and not ve? Le and for banim. Banim is children. Drop the mem. Bene is children of. So that's a construct. Let's color that guy appropriately. Actually, we'll outline him. Right? So it's banim. Drop the mem. Put in construct. And then we put the suffix on the end. Ha! Okay. All right. Yeah, that's right. Betty got it, and Yakar and Gary got it. Great job, guys. The bump schwa. Gary says the Prophet Google, peace be upon him, says Sephardic kippah. Oh, okay. I thought it was kippah for Sephardim. Yeah, I thought so. Right. Yes, that's right. Raphael also got the schwa. That's right. Ooh, sound comes before the schwa. That's right. So if you try to connect a vav in front of a word that has a schwa there, then it changes to ooh, right? It's the bump schwa rule. Exactly. Okay, so, and for banim became b'nei, the children of ha, and for your children. Okay? 4 words in one. You gotta look, if you've ever looked at like similarly sized font Bibles, and they get the same kind of paper, one is English and one is Hebrew, the English is way bigger than the Hebrew Bible, right? Because Hebrew's so terse. Look at that. We got 4 words, ulvanekha, in 1 word. It's a major contraction. Also, what kind of makes Hebrew difficult. So, even if you don't have great vocabulary, if you're learning to segment doing this with us, this is really, really going to help you a lot. Because people, they have a problem where oftentimes they might know a word, but because it's got suffixes and prefixes on it and all this stuff kind of, maybe the vowels changed, maybe it lost one of its letters, like banim here, lost the mem, they might not recognize it at all. So just learning to recognize the forms and what's been added on, what's been put on the end is really, really helpful. Ulvanekha, and for your children, until when? How long should we keep the Passover? Oh, look what it says. Ad haba hamashiach, until the coming of the Messiah, until Messiah comes. Ad ba hamashiach, until Messiah comes. That's when we stop doing Passover and start doing Easter, right? No, it doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. I'm just playing with you. It clearly says olam. Olam. What does olam mean? Olam. Yes, Tet got it. Olam is forever. I wish I had a reverb effect. And ever, 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 and ever. In the millennial kingdom, in Olam Haba, we will be keeping the Passover. Because God doesn't play games. He doesn't say, hey guys, I'll give you this theology, and then I'm going to send my son, and then wait for it. Zoinks! All those things I told you to do forever are gone. Okay? Now, that's the religion of peace that does that kind of nonsense, where their prophet gives a command, and then 1 month later, he changes the command. And it's still all in their holy book, which is smaller than even the New Testament, the entire Quran, right? So, ad olam, until forever. ושמרתם את הדבר הזה לחוק לך ולבניך עד עולם. Verse 25. והיה כי תבואו אל הארץ אשר יitein אדוני lakhem כאשר דיבר. Okay. Vehaya with the gershayim, so we're really hitting it hard. Haya is he was or it was, and then we have our vav consecutive here, vav conversive, whatever you like to call it. It's going to change the aspect. Vehaya, and it will be he when tavo'u. The tav and the u at the end tell us it's y'all. So there's 2 different ways to make the verb say y'all, right? Actually, there's one more than this, but I don't want to get into the infinitive right now. So we put a tem at the end, or for a different verbal form, this is when it's technically perfect. When we have a different verbal form, we put a tav at the beginning and an u at the end. That's y'all, okay? Same thing. Technically, what's happening is the tav makes it second person. That's you, although sometimes it's she. And then the u makes it plural. Okay? So that's why it's y'all. Oh, it's interesting. Deb says in her language, her native language, Torah here is translated as teaching in that specific verse. It is instruction. Interesting. In Isaiah 24, verse 15. Well, Torah, it can mean teaching, depending on context. It can be. It can be. But here, we're clearly talking about a chok, right? Chok is a statute. It's a law. It's a law. Harrison says, Debs and Tet, we always read it as loving instructions. Tet, Modim are Hashem's way of pulling us out of world attachments to be with Him. That's lovely. I like that, Tet. Father knows best. Yes, yes. Well, His commandments are His instruction, right? Just as a parent teaches their child, we expect the child to do what we teach them, right? So our teaching really always is a commandment, right? So in the Hebrew mindset, I'm glad you brought that up, Debs. In the Hebrew mindset, teaching and commandment, it's the same feeling, right? Right? If I tell my kid, hey, don't play in the street, or people who play in the street are fools, right? One sounds more like a commandment and one doesn't. But really, if the kid follows the command, if you love your Lord your God with all your mind, right? Or he keeps the other one, honor your father and your mother, he's not going to play in the streets, right? Even if I didn't make it sound like a command, people who play in the street are fools, right? That shows I disapprove. It's just a teaching, but he interprets it as a command. That's the righteous child. The righteous child will interpret the parent's teaching as a command. Yeah. So very nice. That's really cool you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up. All right. Yeah, Pes says shooting teaching, right? From the verb yara, to shoot. Yeah, exactly. To nail it down. Okay. El, unto. Oh, sorry, bo. You know bo, right? Bo is to come or to arrive. So ki, when, tavo'u, y'all, bo, when you arrive, el, unto, ha'aretz, the land, asher, which, yitein became yitein. So we have our noon is hiding in there. Help, get me out. I'm stuck in the tov. Oh, help me. It's terrible in here. Won't someone save me? Get help. Call 911. So the noon has assimilated. And that's why so yitein became yitein. And the yod at the beginning is telling us it's he. Why did you go gray? I clicked Sayen. He. So he, yitein, will give, or is giving. Who is it? Adonai. So asher, which yitein, Adonai, which Adonai from Natan is giving or will give lakhem to la to oh no! PowerPoint thinks I want to kill it. Bayan, see if I was recording, I could just pause real quick. All right, so we got to bring PowerPoint back. Current slide. I just can't erase what's there now. No big deal. No big deal. Any imps that are messing with us? Doesn't matter. Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Go back. Okay. Lakhem. Yeah, I really don't know what caused it to think exit. So to chem, y'all, to y'all. If you haven't learned the suffixes and these little things that go on the beginning, the affixes on the beginning and ending of verbs that tell you who's doing it, I really recommend you do that. You don't have to memorize all the verbal forms and stuff, but get to where when you see there's an aleph in front of the verb, that's ani, right? Or when you see the tav, that's a ta. Or when you see the yod, that's him, right? Or the tem at the end, that's plural, right? Or the ta at the end, that's you, right? Learning just that little bit, little maybe 15 or 16 little things like that. Suddenly, boom, so much in the text. Makes sense. Even if you don't know the verb, even if you don't know the noun, you can still pick off all those pieces, yeah? Ah, okay, yeah, I think yes. Ted says, when we love Hashem, it ceases to become burdensome law, as many think. Deb says, I shared that verse to add to your point about olam. The Isaiah verse speaks of earth being judged or disobeying Torah, not only Jews, as I understand. Ah, very nice. What was the verse you shared? Let me see. I'm a little squeamish of Hebrew in the chat because it's so small. Oh, yeah. Very good. As a berit olam. Yeah. An eternal covenant. Very nice. Oh, Ted's laughing at my bayan. Some Tagalog coming out. All right, ka'asher. When you see ka'asher in front of a verb, it means according to how. According to how diber, he spoke. And here it's probably commanded, right? Deb checked on this on another verse the other day, and sure enough, in the Greek, it was protasso, which is command. So commanded. Diber. So I'm going to translate commanded, even though it literally says spoke. The rabbis teach us that diber is harsher and stronger than amar, than said, and oftentimes has to do with a command. So, kasher, according to how diber, he commanded. V'shmrtem, and same verb, same form. I'm not going to colorize it because look, it's the same. You have the same thing here and here, right? These guys are the same. V'shmrtem, and y'all shall keep or safeguard et ha'avodah hazot. Oh, I can't erase it. That's from before. Okay. The the. And it's lengthened to a comments here because the ayin is a bad boy and doesn't accept dagashes. So the lamed tried to go in, he can't, reject it, lengthens this guy right here. Avodah, the service, the zot, this one. Same thing happening. So we have noun, service or worship, and adjective. Okay? So they both have, since one has they both need They both have to be definite. And avodah ends in an sound, so it's feminine. Feminine because of the ending. Okay. So because of that, we have to choose zot. Ze was masculine we had up above, where we had the up the very top line. Hadavar hazeh, because davar is masculine, we chose ze. But avodah is clearly feminine, so we choose zot. Zot is the feminine form for this. We're probably going to be about an hour tonight to finish this up, okay? Just so that in case you guys are, those of you who are flex timing work or something like that. Harrison says, "Oh, it's one of those yes and yes things, isn't it?" Yeah. You got that from Halloween and Dr. Michael Heiser. May he rest in peace. Yes. Lovely. Okay, verse 26. V'aya ki yomru aleikhem v'nechem. V'aya. So again, got the same kind of example here. We got the v'aya, just like we had over here. Look, upper right. I'm circling upper right, so I'm going to detail the colors again, okay? V'haya, and it shall be ki win yomru. Now look at this, yomru. So that yod tells us it's third person masculine. It's he, okay? And the u at the end makes it plural, okay? So that's they. So these two together tell us they, okay? And for those of you on cell phones, we'll zoom in just a bit, yeah? Okay. V'haya ki yomru. So it shall be that when, or shall be when, yomru, they say, aleikhem, unto chem, unto y'all. Okay. Now, who's going to say it? Here's our verb. Our verb is yomru. Okay? And then the subject is way over here. It's the subject. Lechem, the children of Chem, y'all's children. Y'all's. Yutzes. So here's in quotes. Here's what they're going to say. Let me clean up a bit. Oh, no, that was drawn on before PowerPoint decided to end itself. I can't get rid of that line there. Ma ha'avodah hazot lakhem. Ma, what is ha'avodah hazot? Same thing as up above here, so I'm not going to recolorize, okay? Same thing. The service of this one, right? What is this service? Lakhem, to you all. Lakhem, we've had it several times here, so again, I'm not going to look over there. See? The arrow is pointing at lakhem. For him, same thing, lakhem. Verse 27. V'amartem. So again, the tem, just like at the beginning, ushmartem, right? So amartem means y'all said. V'amartem means and y'all will say. All right? Now this is a special case because there's a composite schwa here. The vav takes the same sound as that guy does. So he just copies that sound. Okay? That's why it's va. So bump schwa doesn't apply because that's not a normal schwa. It's a composite schwa, that guy there. And y'all shall say, Zevach Pesach hu Ladonai. Zevach. A sacrifice of Passover. Who is who? Who means he? So literally is it is. It is, again, you're thinking like Yoda. Zevach Pesach hu. The sacrifice of Passover, it is. Yes. Okay. Ladonai, to Adonai. Asher pasach al batei v'nei Yisrael. When pasach, he passed over, he passed over, all over batei v'nei Yisrael. Let me make myself a little bit smaller here. And it's a construct chain. Let's mark that. The last word is definite. So the whole chain will have the on it, right? I'm not going to colorize that all. I think you should get it by now. So batei is from batim, which means houses. Drop the mem, houses of. V'nei is from banim. Drop the mem, children of Yisrael. So because the definiteness gets imparted, so pasach, he passed over, all over batei v'nei Yisrael. The houses of the children of Israel, right? They're all getting that definiteness. Be in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. How you guys doing? Aha, sehr gut. Dankeschön. Das gefällt es mir, dass du denkst, dass ich gut mache. Okay. Be in. Allerdings, wir müssen jetzt schreiben mit der Beit. Beit heißt in. In Egypten. In Egypt, Mitzrayim. Benog po. Here we have an infinitive. When you have an infinitive and you put beit in front of it, it usually renders as when in English, right? When, and then if it's an infinitive and it has a suffix, the suffix is going to tell you who is doing the thing. Here it's oh. Well, that's he, right? He. Okay. So when nogap is from nagaf is to afflict, to smite, usually with some kind of disease or something. When he smote, right? So literally it's in smiting of him. That's literally what it says, but we have to make it sound right in English. So when he smote, when he struck, when he afflicted, et Mitzrayim, Egypt. Ve'et, and, so there's a double et. So these are both pointing back to that verb, okay? So we have et here, and this et. Okay, it's a double accusative. Okay, who did he smite? Egypt. And batenu. It's from the word bayit. Put it in construct, bait. Okay. Actually, pardon me, make it plural. Batim, houses. Drop the mem. Bate, houses of new. Houses of new. New, our houses. And our houses, or but our houses. In context, I should translate that vav as a but. But our houses. Hitzil. This is the verbal root natsal. Nun sadi lamed. Verbs that start with a nun, it oftentimes assimilates into the next letter or goes away, and that's what's happened. The nun has become that little dot there, the daga. She's hiding inside. Once again, there's a nun inside. In ancient Hebrew, it would have been hinsil, but that nun, he decided to hide. He's saying, help, there's a nun inside. And this is a he fill because the hay is telling us. Let's make it neon orange. The hint that it's a he fill is the hay at the beginning, like this, and also the long chirek, right? When you insert a yod before the third root letter, usually that's saying it's the he fill form, the causative form. So natsal is to snatch up. This is, he caused to snatch up, which means rescued. He rescued. He rescued. But our houses he rescued, or our households. Probably better, our households. We left the houses behind. Bayit can mean house or household. So our households, he rescued. Okay? Then what happened? Vayikod ha'am vayishtachavuhu. So the people bent the knee and they prostrated down. Right? Beautiful. That's it. No words, just action. That was the avodah, the worship at that moment. Betty says a true teacher always continuously repeats himself without ever becoming tired of doing that. Lovely, lovely. It's very lovely. Or he's just very forgetful and keeps forgetting that he taught it already. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, verse 28. Vayelechu. This is from halach. The hay's gone. But we have the yod telling us it's he, and the u telling us it's they. Right? So those two things together, the preformative yod and the ending u tells us it's they. They. Yelechu means they are walking or they will walk. They are going or they will be walking. The vav changes the aspect. Doesn't always do that, but this particular kind of vav does, the vav conversive. And it means, so they went, or and they went. Vayasu. This is from asa, ayin, sin, hey, and the hey has gone away. So you got the similar pattern, the yod and the u. How are we on time? Let me see. Ooh. Okay. The yod and the u telling us it's they. I'm trying to write neatly. I can't lean on the tablet here because it's at the very end. So that's our they. And the vav changing the aspect. So ya'asu is they will do, or they are doing. The vav makes it perfect. So they did. Who did? Or made? The Bnei Israel, construct chain. The children of Israel. And that really should be rendered children of Israel. Some people in some Bible translations, they'll say the sons of Israel. And you guys, you know me, I'm not one to try to like equalize the genders or something. But banim means children, or it means sons in context. And clearly we're talking everybody here. So it's the children of Israel. So the children of Israel did kāשר, according to how Siva commanded Adonai, according to how commanded Adonai, et Moshe v'Aaron kein asuhu. So כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ואהרון כן עשו. So according to how Adonai commanded et Moshe and Aharon and Aaron, so that's just a normal and there. And Aaron, Cain, such or thusly, asu. Again, ayin, sin, hey, and the hey is gone, but the u tells us it's plural, the u at the end. Third person plural. Ooh, they did. I selected cyan and you gave me gray. What's going on here? They. And you might be saying, wait, how come there's no yod in front of that one? But this one up here, we had to have the yod on it. What's going on? Why don't we have, right? Here we have the yod and the u, and here it's just an u. The reason is this is an imperfect verb, and they have to have both the yod and the u to make it mean they. And this is a perfect verb. And so, for example, perfect is oftentimes past tense. Imperfect is oftentimes present or future. But then the vav changed this guy to make it all perfect. See, this is kind of a device that the writer is using, the prophet's using here. So he's got an imperfect that was changed into a perfect by the vav, and then he's just got a perfect. So they're both perfect, although this is an imperfect form. Okay? So if you just learn the forms and that when you see it, it means they, you'll be happy. Don't worry, be happy. Oh, that's good. You get to stay a bit, Gary. Hold on, I have to take a drink real quickly. Whew, and we're back. I was really thirsty. I'm still thirsty, but I had some willpower. So let's stop. Okay, so very nice. That concludes our reading. Let's summarize the end of our Passover season. Regarding divine intervention. When the manna stops, eat the produce of the land of promise. And you'll remember, I think in our Passover 1 daytime teaching, I shared with you from the traditional reading from Joshua. And in that reading, we were told that when they entered the land, there was no more manna. And from that day on, our ancestors survived from the produce of the land of Canaan, the land, right? And so there's like a deep metaphor there that God holds our hands very intensely when he's bringing us to the land. He's bringing us to where he wants us. And when we're there, he expects us to do a lot of the growing on our own. Hence the commandment, right? He wants us to love him with our mind. And so we do a lot of it ourselves. And this is also why the sages teach that you should not rely on a miracle. You should use your wisdom. You should be preparing. It doesn't mean a miracle won't come and we can't ask for one, but don't rely on it, right? So how many of you are still wandering in the wilderness who are listening to this? How many of you hear some of the stuff that we've been talking about and you know it's true, it strikes some truth to you when we read that the Passover is to be ad olam, until forever, and you're wondering, why don't we do that where I'm at in my congregation? Why don't we, why has this been abandoned? Or it's just some kind of hokey, interesting thing that people do sometimes. Hey, we're going to do a Christ in the Passover Seder or something this year, but you're not keeping it out of obedience for the Lord, out of love for him, out of not wanting to sin that grace may abound, right? Because the law, our schoolmaster, our teacher, as Debs reminded us, also teaches us what sin is. And sin is not keeping the Passover. That's a sin, to not keep the Passover during Passover. To create a new holiday called Ishtar and celebrate that separately in and of itself, that was not the intention. He wasn't creating a new religion. So if that's you, then I suggest that maybe you're still wondering. And I hope you'll open up your heart, open up your mind, and just you're welcome to be with us. You're welcome to study with us. You don't have to agree with us theologically. But I really hope that Hashem will reach you in this new year season of the soul. And that's what Passover is. The festival of freedom from sin, freedom from disobeying God's laws intentionally, which is avon, which is iniquity, and choosing to obey. And if you've been on this walk for a while, Maybe you're in the promised land already. Maybe you're in Eretz Israel. And you notice the manna stopped. Don't be discouraged. It's part of the plan. There are those seasons where he had to drag you and send you to weird YouTube sites or whatever. And then there's a season where it's time to grow. It's time to do some studying on your own. War is coming. Be prepared. As the Boy Scout motto says, be prepared. Don't just count on those miracles. Prepare for the coming battle. Be watchful, silent, and wait. And above all, persevere. Have hope. Don't give up. You can do it. And the overall lekach, the overall takeaway from this, our ancestors were slaves, and by the two powers in heaven, we have been freed. Literal Egypt and figurative Egypt. We have been freed, right? By God and by the Son of God, who is given much power. So just as our ancestors abandoned lives of slavery to sin and became acquired, purchased by God above, the God of Israel, so too we who have turned away from sin should not continue to wallow in it. Don't go back to Egypt. It doesn't just mean don't live in Egypt. The deeper meaning, the remez meaning is don't go back to our sinful ways. The worst thing you can do is to lament having turned away from some sins. Don't do that. We honor the Messiah's sacrifice by treating his blood as precious so we don't continue to sin. And finally, for those of you who are just visiting, and I think most of you who keep the Passover, you know this, as the Apostle Paul, as Rav Shaul famously writes, let us celebrate the feast, which is amazing to me how some of our Christian brothers and sisters from various denominations can twist that to mean don't keep the feast based on what comes after and what comes before. Because he says not with leaven of maliciousness, etc., etc. So he's saying keep the feast, do the Passover. But also, when we lift up the cup of redemption, we do it in remembrance of him, because that is the true time for communion. It's during Passover. That's why he says, when you do this, meaning when you do the Passover, not I'm ending this now, and from now on you do Ishtar. When you do the Passover, you do this in remembrance of me, he says. And then finally, to kind of end our Passover season, and I'm sorry for those of you in the West, but it is still the optional final day that you're doing, right? It's the optional day. It's the extended day. It's over in Israel already. Let me just let you guys go with the Birchat HaKohanim tonight. Ein lanu kohen. We don't have a priest from Aaron's line right now to say this. Well, we have, but he's a student here. He's not teaching. And Ein lanu Levi. We don't have a Levi. So we will say this after the order of Melchizedek, where we know that you do not guarantee the blessing to happen as you do when an Aaronite does it, as a son of Ben Aharon does it. But we ask that you will honor it anyway after the Melchizedek order, because it is your choice to bless whom you will. Yavarechech Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panai velecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panai velecha. V'yasem lecha shalom. You guys, I hope you had a great Passover season. Thank you for doing it with us. Be blessed, receive his blessings, celebrate the feast, and have a great spiritual new year. This is the spiritual new year, the festival of freedom, Chag HaMatzot, and Chag Pesach. Shalom, shalom. Yes, I like what Harrison read. Who wouldn't want to meet Father when he wants us to meet him? What an honor. That's right. This is his time, which he has chosen, and nobody is here by accident. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you guys will have a great